she died. And I didn't even cry, not a single tear. So if you can expel that thought from your mind.
When David, the rising pop star, brushed off his intense lyrics as just metaphors, nobody thought they'd ever connect to something this dark. But on September 9th, 2025, Los Angeles police made a shocking discovery that left Hollywood frozen in disbelief.
It doesn't feel real. I'm kind of in disbelief still. I don't know if it's a lot. It's just a lot.
At a city impound lot, workers complained about a foul odor coming from a white Tesla Model 3. Inside the front trunk, wrapped in plastic, investigators found human remains already decomposing. Hours later, the medical examiner confirmed the victim was 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, who had vanished more than a year earlier. The Tesla, registered to 20-year-old breakout singer David Anthony Burke, known worldwide as David.
I went on my phone the next day, I was like, how to make music on iPhone. That was it. Apple earbuds, no mic, no headphones either.
Who skyrocketed to fame with viral tracks like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. With over 33 million monthly Spotify listeners, the young star was suddenly in the middle of a full-blown homicide investigation. Authorities revealed the vehicle had been abandoned in the Hollywood Hills before it was towed. Forensics suggested the body had been placed inside earlier, raising disturbing questions. Despite heavy decomposition, investigators confirmed Celeste's identity through DNA and unique markers, including a small "sh" tattoo on her finger, eerily similar to one David himself had. Even more shocking, NBC News reported that Celeste's mother told police her daughter once mentioned having a boyfriend named David. The case instantly sparked rumors of a chilling connection between the chart-topping artist and the missing teen, igniting a storm across social media and the music industry. As the story spread, David's world collapsed overnight. Shows were canceled, big collaborations fell apart, and even sneaker and clothing brands cut ties instantly. Billboard confirmed his Seattle tour stop was canceled on September 12th, just days after the shocking discovery. Fans and online investigators then dug back into his music, and what they found left everyone speechless. Lyrics once brushed off as teenage angst now sounded like chilling foreshadowing. His breakout hit Romantic Homicide had lines like, "In the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. In the back of my mind, I killed you." Suddenly, these words felt more like a confession than a metaphor. Then came the bombshell, a leaked, unreleased track titled Celeste, recorded in December 2023, where David sang, "Oh Celeste, the girl with my name, tattooed on her chest, I'm obsessed." Fans were stunned by the eerie connection. The LAPD confirmed that Celeste's remains were found inside David's Tesla, but stopped short of naming him a suspect. A spokesperson insisted he's fully cooperating with detectives. But cooperation doesn't erase suspicion, and it doesn't explain the disturbing coincidences, the lyrics, the tattoo, or even Celeste's mother saying her daughter once mentioned a boyfriend named David. Even stranger, records show David filed a stolen vehicle report for his Tesla between August and September 2025. Right before all of this unraveled, the timeline raised even more unanswered questions about what really happened. David claimed his Tesla went missing while he was on tour, but on September 3rd, 2025, the car was towed from the Hollywood Hills to an impound yard. Days later, on September 8th, workers noticed a strong odor, leading police to the grim discovery inside. By September 17th, ABC News confirmed the identification, but the timeline left huge questions hanging. If the Tesla was truly stolen, then who drove it? Was Celeste's body placed inside before or after the theft? And why did the car sit abandoned in the hills for days? These gaps fueled speculation online, especially about David's alleged ties to Celeste. Her mother told reporters her daughter had a boyfriend named David, while alleged screenshots and photos suggested interactions between them dating back years. TMZ reported on these claims, but police have never officially confirmed or authenticated any digital evidence. For now, they remain unproven allegations. Still, the leaked, unreleased track Celeste poured more gasoline on the fire. Lyrics like "Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes, I hear her voice each time I take a breath" left fans stunned. Some insisted it tied too closely to her tragic end. And then came another viral theory, claims that Romantic Homicide dropped on Celeste's birthday. Even though outlets like Hindustan Times debunked it, the rumor refuses to die. Public opinion is now split, with some convinced the evidence screams guilt, while others believe David is being framed or sabotaged. Either way, the pressure around the young star has never been more intense. The public is split into two camps, and both sides are digging in. One group insists the evidence is overwhelming. The Tesla in David's name, the victim's mother saying her daughter had a boyfriend named David, the matching tattoos, and the chilling songs about obsession. To them, this isn't coincidence, and it's a clear pattern. But the other camp points out something just as important. David hasn't been charged. They highlight his cooperation with detectives and the fact that the Tesla was reported stolen while he was on tour. Some even believe the body was placed in the car to frame him, arguing that without hard forensic proof, guilt is only speculation. Legal analysts warn, though, that if prosecutors ever tie him directly to the case, the consequences could be devastating. In California, charges tied to murder or crimes involving minors can carry sentences as harsh as life in prison. Even without charges, David's career has already taken a major hit. The New York Post reported his streaming numbers dropped 40%, while deals with Crocs and Hollister were terminated instantly. Meanwhile, hashtags like #JusticeForCeleste keep trending, and critics are now dissecting David's past lyrics under a new lens. What was once celebrated as raw artistry is now being read as sinister foreshadowing. Celeste's story has also grown into a rallying cry for advocates against exploitation and for families of missing teens, making this case bigger than music alone. Media outlets like ABC7 now frame Celeste as a forgotten victim whose story only resurfaced after the shocking Tesla discovery. And because of that, her name will forever be tied to David's, no matter what the verdict ends up being. At the center of it all is the interview that changed everything. David's breakout track, Romantic Homicide, released in July 2022, skyrocketed him to fame and became the song most closely tied to his image. For years, he's insisted the lyrics were nothing more than metaphors, personal but not literal. Yet those very interviews are now being re-examined under a microscope. In a 2023 sit-down with the Zach Sang Show, David explained that he often writes songs from imagined perspectives instead of real-life experiences. In the transcript, he even admitted he doesn't see himself as a real singer, claiming he only stumbled into music while gaming and trying to make background tracks for Fortnite videos. He revealed his breakout moment came when he recorded Romantic Homicide in his sister's closet using nothing but a borrowed iPhone. What once sounded like a humble come-up story now feels eerily different, fueling suspicion that his words may have carried more weight than anyone realized at the time. Looking back, the lyrics of Romantic Homicide hit harder than ever. Its chorus, once seen as just a breakup metaphor, is now being reread as something far darker. At the time, David insisted it was all fiction, a creative projection, not a confession. But interviews show contradictions that fans and critics can't ignore. On one hand, David claimed he writes from an outsider's perspective, channeling imagined stories instead of his own. Yet later in the same interview, he admitted the song came from a personal emotional state, describing himself as detached in relationships, even numb to a partner's pain. That attitude mirrored the song's theme of indifference toward an imagined death, leaving many unsettled. Critics point out the paradox. David calls Romantic Homicide fiction, yet also ties it to his real numbness in love. This blurred line between art and autobiography has become central to how the public interprets him today. Even the way the track was recorded added to the mystique. He bragged that it was laid down cheaply and spontaneously in a raw, unpolished style. Instead of sounding amateur, fans thought it felt brutally authentic. The lyrics, heavy on separation, rejection, and emotional emptiness, became the very themes fueling suspicion now. When pressed directly about one of the most controversial lines, David brushed it off, saying it was symbolic of ending a relationship mentally before it ended physically. But his repeated insistence that the song wasn't about me has failed to put out the fire. Debate only keeps growing louder. Part of Romantic Homicide's power came from its eerie ambiguity. Critics pointed out how David's calm, minimalist delivery clashed with lyrics about death, giving the track an unsettling edge that set it apart from typical breakup ballads. Pitchfork even praised it as a bedroom pop anthem, capturing the emptiness of emotional detachment while still admitting its language about killing was shockingly severe for such a soft indie sound. When asked if he worried the lyrics were too dark, David brushed it off, saying his music was instinctive, not calculated, that he was just a vessel for emotion. That explanation only fueled debate over whether the disturbing imagery was accidental or intentional. By late 2022, the song had exploded on TikTok, appearing in over 1 million videos. Fans used it for breakup edits, love montages, and moody aesthetic clips, treating the lyrics as shorthand for heartbreak and detachment rather than violence. But even then, corners of the internet were raising eyebrows, questioning why such grim lines about imagined death were being romanticized in the first place. The interview also pulled back the curtain on David's persona as an artist. He described himself as someone who channels emotions he observes in others, keeping a clear distance between his real life and his music. But when pressed about Romantic Homicide's intensity, he admitted the track came from a specific mental state, one marked by emotional numbness and detachment from human connection. That contradiction has fueled even more speculation. Critics argue that if David truly felt detached the way he described, it paints a troubling psychological picture, one that could line up with someone capable of committing violence without remorse. Supporters, however, push back, saying emotional numbness is something many young artists face when dealing with trauma or depression, and that confusing art with criminal behavior is unfair and dangerous. The interview also highlighted how fame changed him. David confessed that the sudden attention from millions of fans left him overwhelmed and struggling to form genuine connections. That context now raises chilling questions. Did his emotional detachment spill over into his personal life, especially in his rumored relationship with Celeste? Most importantly, the interview revealed David understood how his words could be interpreted, and yet he still leaned into dark, obsessive themes. For investigators and the public, that awareness makes his lyrics feel less like harmless creativity and more like potential clues. When pressed about the violent imagery in Romantic Homicide, David admitted he understood some listeners might find it disturbing, but brushed it off as simply reflecting his feelings at the time. To critics, that sounded either shockingly naive or like a calculated attempt to normalize dark ideas within a love song. After Celeste's body was discovered, everything changed. Online discourse quickly reframed Romantic Homicide, no longer seen as metaphorical, but possibly confessional. The track became one of the clearest examples of how art can be reinterpreted after scandal. Clips of the song flooded TikTok and Twitter/X, now paired with headlines about the case. Reddit threads and YouTube commentators resurfaced David's old interviews, highlighting contradictions where he denied writing about himself yet also admitted to feeling emotionally numb. Fans debated whether those words were red flags all along. Viral theories soon spiraled, with some speculating the track's release date tied into Celeste's life, casting her posthumously as the hidden subject of a string of coded songs. While unproven, the theory fueled massive speculation online. Even music journalists joined the debate. Billboard had once praised Romantic Homicide as a breakout viral hit, but after the scandal, op-eds slammed the industry for ignoring possible warning signs. Critics even called out TikTok itself, saying platforms helped glorify lyrics about killing a lover without questioning their implications. The cultural backlash around Romantic Homicide has been massive, and it mirrors past scandals where music was reinterpreted after real-life crimes. By mid-2025, commentary shifted from seeing the track as relatable heartbreak to condemning it outright. Critics argued that, intentional or not, its popularity normalized the idea of romanticized death for millions of young listeners. That shift shows how fragile artistic legacy can be. What was once celebrated as raw emotion is now viewed as incriminating evidence. David's own interviews, swinging between claims of detachment and quiet admissions of numbness, have been dissected endlessly, but none of it has restored the song's original innocence. Instead, Romantic Homicide has gone from viral anthem to central exhibit in the public's case against him. The discovery of Celeste's body inside David's Tesla has also sparked comparisons to other infamous cases where artists' personal lives and violent themes collided. Though each story is different, the parallels are haunting. Critics argue that celebrity visibility can amplify the horror when lyrics about obsession, control, or death suddenly clash with real-life tragedy. One case often cited is from December 2014, when Los Angeles police responded to gunfire inside the Palazzo East luxury complex. Inside, they found rapper Earl Hayes, 34, and his partner, actress and dancer Stephanie Mosley, 30, both dead. Investigators concluded Hayes fatally shot Mosley before taking his own life. That tragedy shook the industry, and now David's scandal is being framed in the same chilling light. Earl Hayes was signed to Floyd Mayweather's label, and reports later confirmed he was actually on FaceTime with Mayweather in the final moments before tragedy struck. During that call, Hayes allegedly confronted his partner, Stephanie Mosley, over infidelity. Mayweather told police he tried to calm him down, but Hayes fatally shot Mosley while Mayweather was still connected. The case was ruled a murder-suicide. The fallout was devastating. Mosley's death shocked the dance world. She had starred in Hit the Floor and performed with Chris Brown, Britney Spears, and other stars. Hayes' legacy was destroyed, remembered not for music but for violence. It left an ugly stain on Mayweather's circle and reignited debates about hip-hop's ongoing ties to tragedy. Years later, the cycle repeated. On January 1st, 2022, deputies in Temple City responded to reports of gunfire. Inside a home, they found 27-year-old rapper Justin Joseph, known as J Tash, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Nearby, his girlfriend, Jeanette Gallegos, 27, had also been killed. Heartbreakingly, her 3 children, ages 5, 7, and 11, were inside the house but unharmed. The sheriff's department confirmed it as another murder-suicide, with prosecutors noting a troubling history of abuse. Family members revealed Gallegos had been trying to leave the relationship before the tragedy. The case once again ignited fierce debate. Are violent lyrics just music, or do they help normalize a dangerous reality? JTASH, once affiliated with Rich Forever Music, built an image of wealth and bravado, but his end was marked not by music but by domestic violence. For many, the contrast between Jeanette Gallegos as a devoted mother and JTASH's violent actions became a symbol of the dangers women face in relationships with powerful men. And he wasn't the only one. In January 2023, Tampa rapper Billy Bennett Adams III, known as Ace NH, made headlines after being acquitted in a 2020 double homicide case. But just days later, he was arrested again, this time for the murder of his pregnant girlfriend, Alana Sims. On January 30th, Sims was found shot on a Tampa street beside her SUV, while her 23-month-old child slept inside unharmed. Prosecutors alleged Adams lured her under the pretense of celebrating his acquittal, but instead killed her after refusing to accept the pregnancy. He was charged with first-degree murder and now awaits trial. Another chilling case came out of New Orleans. Rapper Justin Lewis, known as Suave Lyricist, had long faced whispers of violence. His ex-wife, Rain Harris, died under suspicious circumstances in 2017, but no charges were filed. Years later, in 2023, his pregnant ex-girlfriend, Aisha Hurd, was discovered shot multiple times in Baton Rouge. This time, Lewis was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. These tragedies highlight a disturbing pattern in the music industry, where fame, control, and violence collide, often with devastating consequences for the women involved. Prosecutors argued that the similarities between Aisha Hurd's killing and Rain Harris's death exposed a deadly pattern with rapper Suave Lyricist. Community leaders warned his case showed how repeat offenders can slip through the system until multiple women end up dead. Detroit faced its own tragedy in March 2024 when local rapper Super MC was arrested for the murder of his girlfriend, Bria White. The irony was chilling. White was a domestic violence activist known for her work protecting women. Police alleged Super MC stabbed her during an argument inside their Highland Park home. He later turned himself in and was charged with first-degree murder. The case quickly became a painful symbol of Detroit's ongoing struggle with gender-based violence. Los Angeles carried another dark chapter. In 2019, rapper Robert Camus was charged with capital murder after his girlfriend Amanda Custer vanished. Witnesses claimed they saw him forcing her into his Jeep after a violent argument. Despite extensive searches, her body was never found. What made the case worse was video of Camus performing a freestyle rap where he bragged about killing his girlfriend and burying her. Prosecutors argued his violent history and those chilling lyrics formed damning circumstantial evidence. And back in 2014, another high-profile case rocked the music scene. DJ Awesome, real name Andre Pugh, was convicted of arranging the murder of his wife, Tiffany Jackson Pugh, to collect life insurance money. Prosecutors built the case on phone records, financial evidence, and witness testimony, proving how greed, power, and betrayal can turn deadly even within the industry. Tiffany Jackson Pugh was found dead inside her home, and her husband, DJ Awesome, was sentenced to life in prison. The case became another reminder of how greed and financial pressure can twist into deadly violence behind closed doors. One of the most infamous cases in rap history came in 2002 with Antron Singleton, better known as Big Lurch. Under the influence of PCP, Singleton murdered his roommate, Tanisha Isaias, in an unthinkably brutal act. He was convicted of first-degree murder and aggravated mayhem, sentenced to life without parole. The crime became a grotesque emblem of the rap and violence stereotype, often used by critics to paint the entire genre in a negative light. Another tragedy unfolded in Chicago in 2013 when aspiring rapper Aiden Diaz strangled his girlfriend, Gayla Retiz, during an argument. He was convicted the following year and sentenced to 35 years in prison. Prosecutors described the killing as premeditated, fueled by jealousy and control. While it didn't make national headlines, the case became part of Chicago's broader story of street rap colliding with intimate partner violence. And in 2024, Detroit was shaken again. Local rapper Kaif Blake was charged with murdering his partner in a stabbing during a domestic dispute. Though details were scarce, reports of his arraignment stunned the city's already troubled hip-hop community, adding yet another dark mark to rap's complicated relationship with violence. Kaif Blake's case mirrored that of Super MC, reinforcing a grim pattern in Detroit's rap scene where intimate relationships ended fatally. When placed side by side, these tragedies create a disturbing parallel to David's scandal. Artists celebrated for their music whose private lives unraveled into violence. Some cases ended with convictions, others with unanswered questions, but the pattern is undeniable. Observers stress this isn't about rap uniquely creating violence. Domestic tragedies happen everywhere, but when it involves famous figures, the spotlight magnifies the horror, especially when paired with lyrics about obsession, control, or death. In these moments, the line between art and crime blurs, leaving legacies defined not by music, but by the lives destroyed. For David, the stakes are enormous. Experts warn that if prosecutors file charges, his trial could become one of the most publicized celebrity cases in decades. Jury selection alone would be a nightmare given the worldwide coverage. The outcome would hinge on forensics, pinpointing when Celeste died, how long her remains were in the Tesla, and whether DNA, fingerprints, or digital records tied back to David. If convicted, the consequences would be devastating. Murder charges in California carry 15 years to life, with harsher penalties if minors are involved. Any sex crime conviction could mean lifetime registration and a permanent end to public life. Even without a conviction, the damage may already be permanent, because in the court of public opinion, the sentence has already been passed. David has gone completely silent, canceling shows, skipping appearances, and disappearing from the spotlight. In the music industry, once brands and labels cut ties, they almost never come back. His rapid rise from recording songs in his sister's closet to topping global charts has collapsed in just weeks. Now the unanswered questions haunt everything. Who really killed Celeste? Why was her body inside David's Tesla? Was he directly involved or just caught in the middle of something bigger? Until the LAPD finishes its investigation, speculation will continue to dominate. But for many fans and industry insiders, the verdict feels like it's already been written. The shocking discovery has completely rewritten David's story. Whether he's eventually charged or cleared, his name is now tied to tragedy. And for many, his place in music and culture may already be over. Goodbye forever might not just mean a legal sentence. It could mean the permanent end of his career. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to subscribe, like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about this wild case.